There were 900,000 deaf people in Kenya. That's 1 out of 55. There are 55 million people in Kenya.
One of our partners in Africa introduced us to a group of people who were hearing impaired. They were deaf. It was quite remarkable, and got to know them. We enjoyed them, and discovered that hardly anything is going on in terms of ministry to this deaf community. And churches didn't know quite how to handle and communicate people who were deaf, and they were not well liked by the community. They were misunderstood. I remember the word came to us, well, you're doing these ITIs. Can you do those with the deaf community? And
we thought, why not at least give it a try?
I remember, and you were there too, of course, those first trainings that we did that were a little bit out of our comfort zone, at least my comfort zone.
Exactly. I remember the first time I was meeting with this group of deaf people, and I was looking at them, and I was speaking, and I kept thinking to myself, well, why don't they look at me? I need some eye contact. And I realized that they were all looking at an opposite direction, or a slightly different direction anyway, at the signer who was translating for them. And so then it dawned on me, oh, they can't look at me, they have to look at whoever's translating for them. So it kind of like threw me for a loop at the beginning. Yeah. And then so much of our translation, when we have taught in English and it's translated into Swahili or Spanish in Latin America, I would pause and let the person translate, but then I realized, well, there's no reason to pause because they've already signed the translation as we've gone. So there were some different kinds of things we had to learn as we taught with this particular group of people.
It was great in terms of when you pray, don't close your eyes because, of course, they have to see a signer. But we worked through that and found people who were very warm, very appreciative of our coming, and just kind of fell in love with this group of men and women who loved Jesus and wanted to be trained, wanted to understand the Bible, wanted to see how to do ministry and how to reach their fellow people, that 900,000 group of people, many of whom did not know Jesus. The impact of the ITI, sometimes people overlook. We do a training here and training there, and there's so many trainings going on all over the world. And does it make a difference?
Absolutely. Now that we've had about 10 years of doing ITIs with deaf people, we begin to see some of these results. For example, there have been 180 deaf pastors and leaders trained through the ITI over the course of these years. And they haven't had any training beyond what we've been able to give them. And it's not just us doing the training, but we began with a pastor named Charles, just a wonderful person. We helped train him, and then he's been training other pastors and leaders through the ITI. He's such a gifted teacher. So in April, I was at an ITI. We landed in Nairobi. They had an ITI going on in the western part of Kenya, and Charles was there. And at the end of this training, they had a graduation. Another 25 people graduated. And during the graduation ceremony, there's one man that we work with, and he told some of the story. He said, so Dudley was part of this original group of American pastors who came and taught, and Charles, you get up and stand over by Dudley. So Charles got up, and he was one of the first that we trained. And then after Charles got up, Steve said, well, I want these 3 people to get up because they were trained by Charles. So then those 3 people got up and stood there. And then there were about 5 more that were trained by these 3, and so they got up, and we began to see this sense of multiplication. And they have their own trainers, ITI trainers who are training other people. And so just to see how that's grown.
Really powerful, I think, as you think about here's a kind of a 2 Timothy 2:2 of training the next generation to the next generation to the next generation. And I think there's 4 of those generations now, spiritually speaking, that are now involved with the International Training Institute. I thought what hit me too was these people we've trained, that 180 group, now they've planted what is that? 50 churches, I think I heard.
50 churches.
So these deaf pastors have gone out with what they learned and have planted 50 churches throughout the country of Kenya.
Yeah, they get through those 8 classes and they feel honored and they feel like they've been seen and they've been heard. And I think that's really important because we want to bless them. The gospel is for everyone.
And I love the vision too. They own the need to see their own people of the deaf community reach with the gospel. A great opportunity before us yet. They want to go to other places. They want to reach out to other segments of population with deaf people. And so we need help. We need help for people to give and to pray that God would raise up needed finances for such trainings to continue.
So we have found that we are able to invite 25 to 30 deaf pastors and leaders to a training. For about $3,500, we can cover all of the costs, give them an opportunity to gain some really valuable training that will help them in the future as they share the gospel, as they spread the love of Christ.
So thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your interest and for taking a few minutes of time here to kind of hear a really good story.